Welcome to All Up in My Lady Business. I am your host, Mary Nisi. On this podcast, I'll explore the fine line between having it together and losing your shit. Here I share my journey as an entrepreneur, a mom, a wife, a DJ, and randomly a beekeeper. I have no shame and no filter, except the ones I use on Instagram. My stories of resilience, a little structure, and a lot of resourcefulness can show you how to take those same things and live your life with your whole ass. Thanks for listening. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. It is going to be a real good one today. I interview my dear friend and Muppet, Annie P. Ruggles, Annie Passanisi Ruggles, who is my fake cousin. And we get into it. There's a lot of discussion about musical theater, our combined love of South Pacific, a lot of deep tea being spilled on her relatives, and just talking about the sales process and what we can do to make it a little less sleazy. So let's get into it. Annie P. Ruggles, let's do this. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. I've got quite the treat for you. I've got Miss Annie P. Ruggles, she, her, on the podcast. For over a decade, Annie P. has harnessed her Hulk-like disdain for hard sales, tacky self-promotion, and overly competitive sleazeballs as inspiration to help people find better ways to grow their small business. She's guided hundreds of people towards making deeper connections, lasting impressions, and friendlier, more lucrative transactions and conversations. Annie P. Ruggles, welcome to All Up in My Lady Business.
Thank you, Mary.
We're going to get into both of our lady businesses.
Let's do it. Let's just mash it all up and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tuesday. A lot can happen.
It's Tuesday?
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So Annie, I want to live in a world where everybody knows who you are already, but let's pretend like everybody doesn't know you, because they do, but let's pretend they don't. And let's give the backstory of Annie P. Ruggles. What makes you?
What makes me? Well, the personality comes from my musical theater degree, so that never goes away. Like, once you put the stank of theater kid on a kid, it never goes away.
You are broad where a broad should be broad.
Yes, I am. I am a lot more than 101 pounds of fun, but still in that same vein.
That was I can shut everything down now.
Yeah, show over.
That was...
I've sung South Pacific on the show. It's done. No, I think, I'm the kid of two entrepreneurs, which was awesome and weird. And I'm grateful for the awesome and for the weird, because I grew up knowing that having a lady business was possible because of my mom's lady business.
What was your mother's lady business?
She is a very decorated, very fabulous motivational speaker. Now
Really?
Retired. Yeah.
Like, she was always a motivational speaker.
Not always. So when I was born, my birth was like horrifically bad, like in medical journals bad.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, my mom had been the head of pediatric physical therapy at Shriners. And so she didn't have the bandwidth to go back to PT like super plus full time. And so she was looking for something else to do. And somebody told her, like, well, you're funny. You should be a speaker. And she was like, what's a speaker do? And they're like, oh, well, you can like talk in people's living rooms and get paid like $50. And she was like, oh, that sounds freaking rad.
$50 American?
What? Amazing. And so she did. She started in like 1985 or six. And she worked up until, I want to say 2015 or 16.
I'm just impressed that in 1986, there were people that felt that a woman could motivate them to do anything.
Yeah. And it was largely other women, right?
Oh, okay,
so I think but then by the end of my mom's career, she was working with like astrophysicists and the FBI and all this really cool, awesome stuff. But to me, that was just totally normal. Right. So like what was abnormal was my mom being at our Girl Scout troop because she was out of town. But was totally normal was my mom calling me from Quantico and being like, oh, hey, I'm in the crime lab at Quantico. And I'm like, oh, cool. But it gave me that idea that I didn't really ever have to fit a mold. I could create my own mold. And yet I was like, I'm going to be an actor. So I did all that stuff. And you got to get paid in the city of Chicago. And so, you know, we do our bit stuff on the side. I did dinner theater for a really long time. So while you were at Second City, I was down a floor at Piper's at Tony Atina's.
Who were you?
I was Donna Marsala, best friend of Tina, drunken maniac karaoke singer. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
To the M to the G. Also, I was never at Second City. I just took the training school.
Well, you're by proxy. Yeah. But so that, you know, kind of led me into theater marketing because everybody at that time had like a super small, scrappy theater company. And so did I. And they needed marketing and somebody to greet the PR people when they came. And so I did that and worked for Broadway in Chicago. And that was freaking traumatic. And so I just kind of wandered around marketing for a while. But my passion has always been working with really small businesses and other people, especially lady businesses. Mm-hmm. And I realized that all the marketing in the world doesn't actually matter if you're unwilling to sell. And so I decided to focus on that. My business sucked for years in like soul sucking ways. Like it was fabulous and I loved it.
What was the business?
It was called The Idea Doula. It was marketing and branding for super smalls. And I loved it.
And that was your business. Like you started it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that your first business?
Yes and no. I had previously done a collaboration called Hungry Entrepreneurs, which was a community for struggling entrepreneurs. But I didn't know how to run a community. And at that point, entrepreneurs really didn't want to admit that they were struggling. So that died pretty quick.
So have you ever had a real job?
Yes.
What was the last real job you had?
Oh, jeez. I worked in a bar basement at Hell at the Moon.
Oh, God. That's not a real job.
Selling, air quotes, selling happy hour parties that everybody won. So I would call 40 people a day and be like, hey, is this Mary? Hey, recently you came into Hell at the Moon and you filled out a tab and congratulations. You won a free happy hour party. Yeah, you can bring as many people as you want. You get mini tacos. You get 2 drink tickets that are good for well drinks or beer. Yeah, I did that all day, every day.
And then what was the scam?
It's just they wanted you to come in at happy hour times.
Oh, and then get drunk enough at happy hour that you stick around for the rest of the day?
Which most people did, right? So that was my last, I think, super big girl job. But then after that, no, it wasn't. I spent 5 years as the director of this firm for software. Hello. I just totally forgot about 5 years of my life.
No, I think you probably is it like a trauma response?
I feel like most of my job life is trauma response, blacked out. But I think it all taught me something, right? But I was the director of marketing and sales by many titles for a small software firm here in Chicago for quite some time, working for a dear friend of mine. And I, totally blacked out on that.
Okay. So you worked there. You did that until when?
2017.
Okay. So what happened in 2017 that made you leave the trauma response? And
Polymathic was acquired and they didn't take me. They said that they were doing so well. They had some really big, clients. They were like, we don't market. And I was like, oh. Okay, but I wanted out of software anyway.
Sure, but just the idea that you don't have to do any marketing.
Market. Like,
anybody who says they don't market, they are leaving a lot of money on the whatever.
But I mean, I was not about to try to educate them that they needed marketing at that point. I was just like, okay, bye. And it was scary and it was weird, but it was also really awesome because the problems being solved in software were cool, but they weren't the problems that I wanted a hand in solving. Mm-hmm. And they weren't the size of the company that I wanted a hand in solving. And so I really wanted to get back to small founders. So then Idea Doula happened after that. And I did that for about 2 years. And on paper, I was killing it. I had tons of clients. I had no money because I was undercharging or not charging. I was being kind of like the Bank of Annie with everybody, especially with my time.
You were also being a doula. I mean, doulas it's a thankless job. You don't get paid very much. It's a lot of work. And at the end of it, there's a mess.
There's a big old mess. And so I was just like, this isn't working. And so I needed something supplemental. I went and worked for a business coach, who is a pretty big deal. And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. I'm going to do her like sub coaching. And
you came in as a coach, not to do marketing for the coach.
no, I came in as a coach for that, as a business coach specifically.
Oh.
And that was horrifying and scary and sad in that her ethics and integrity and mine just did not match up at all. And I noticed really closely how it affects people when they are in a kind of downtrodden or beat down place and they're sold too terribly and they're sold something that they can't afford. And I got to see kind of the collateral damage of sleazy sales really close up over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
With the coach.
Oh, yeah.
Like the coaching lady was unethical?
Oh. That and the tactics that were used by the sales team were so unnecessary, but the goal of the business was get as many clients as possible. And
how many coaches did she have working underneath her?
3. I was the head. But as such, I did all the customer service. So she couldn't pick her clients out of a lineup. These people were getting second mortgages on their homes, taking out of, it would be like if you took money out of Sebastian's college fund to pay for this thing. And then the coach that you thought you were going to get, you didn't get, you got me instead. And at that time, nobody knew me. And so it would be like, you got Susie from down the street. Who the heck? And so I was doing so much emotional cleanup with them. It didn't even really feel like coaching because I would get on a call and they would just be sobbing going, I'm never going to get my return on investment back. This isn't working. I can't do this, because they were also being taught to sell in the way that they had been sold to. And the way that they had been sold to was lecherous and awful. And so of course they didn't want to do it. And so I was supposed to be like, cool, let's look at your landing page. Let's look at your copy. And instead, all day, every day, I was just going, listen, it's okay. Let me give you some extra time. I'm getting $250 ahead. The coach that they're paying is getting $10,000. And it's like, it just wasn't.
They were paying $10,000 and they were getting as far as this company's value was $250 of value.
Yeah, because they were getting me. But I mean, I gave them a lot more than $250, but still not anywhere near. But in the coaching industry right now, and this was really prevalent back in 20, whatever year that was, 17, 18, I think.
Before times.
Oh yeah, in the before four. There's this really big precedent in coaching of like, well, let me tell you exactly how to do this, and then you can go be a clone of me and go make all this money. And so that was the promise of the program. The promise of the program was that you were going to emerge as this thriving coach in like no time whatsoever, have these 5 and 6 figure months and just be off to the races. But then in the behind the scenes meetings, they're saying like, well, we need broken women. And I'm like, why are we specifically targeting broken women? And it's like, well, because broken women will part with their money. And I was like, this is an empowerment program. We literally say that this is an empowerment company. And then behind the scenes, it's saying we need broken women. And I was just like, I can't do this. I cannot be the face of this. No. So she flew us all out to California for a retreat. And I got out there and quit.
On the retreat?
Yeah. I was just like, because they wanted more of me. They're like, Annie, you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to step up more. And like, I'm a highly empathic and sensitive person. What they were asking me to do would have been emotionally damaging for me, even more so because I just didn't have anything left to give. And what was harder for that is because she was the face of the company and she was the one that they were paying, no amount of me giving was ever going to be enough to replace the promise of her. And so I was trying to get them to chase the wrong high. I was trying to get them to feel loved and supported by me. They do love and support me to this day. Many of them have become my clients in the meantime or my friends. But to this day, they'll say that the good thing about the program was me. And I just promised myself that not only would I not allow any of that nastiness to enter my own business when I went back on my own, I also had to find a way for great women and great people to sell really beautifully and not be like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to tell your husband. Oh, it's okay. You can put that money back in your kids' college fund once you get your first high ticket sale. Like, ew.
So you're doing this job, you quit it, and were you like, I'm quitting this and starting my own thing?
I didn't know what I was going to do. Luckily, at that point, I was married. Was I married? I was either married or engaged, and no, I was married. And Ryan, my beloved hobbit, was like, hey, just take some time. And that was really hard because I would wake up every day wanting to work. That's just me. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be like, I'm going to work. And he's like, you're going to sit. And I'm like, I'm going to work. And he's like, just watch some Maury and eat some pizza and be done with this. And I'm like, no.
Did that work? Watching Maury and eating pizza?
For like a day. And then I was bored and I was like, I wasn't helping. I wasn't serving. I wasn't doing. I wasn't creating. And that was driving me crazy. And so I was like, well, do I want to go back into performing at night? Maybe. But instead I was like, you know what? I am best when I have someone in front of me that I can cheerlead.
Okay. And
so what does that look like? And I went back at that point into idea doula-ing for a while. And
were you calling it idea doula?
Mm-hmm. But then I was like, why is this not working again? I've built huge multi-million-dollar launches. I've built beautiful freaking websites. Why is this not working? And I realized that it was because of what I had seen and because of my own personality. I was totally unwilling to sell because, again, it had totally been like re-indoctrinated to me that selling meant like, take the group calls in a closet so your husband doesn't know that you took money when he told you that you shouldn't do the program and you chose to do it anyway. Like, I promised myself I would never coach under those conditions, nor would I ever encourage anybody who comes to me for guidance to teach. I would never, ever allow or foster that behavior in others.
I mean, that sounds like NXIVM level.
Yeah.
Like cult things.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is really going to be an unpopular opinion and we're going to get some hate mail on this, but I love the coaching industry dearly. Mm-hmm. And I love personal development dearly. And I grew up in it. Like I said, my mom's a motivational speaker. I am no stranger to self-help ever. And I think it's really important.
Well, I think also as a business owner, I think when you're a business owner, you're expected to know everything, yes, but you don't. And so you have to find other people. It's probably just finding those right people.
But the veil between coaching and cult is so thin in some areas. And it really has to do with whether or not people are being encouraged to act autonomously and from a place of power, or if they're expected to give their power back to the coaching collective, whatever that may be.
That's so interesting. That's just been the opposite experience I've had with coaching. Mm-hmm. Like I've just gotten very lucky on my coaches.
Well, that's because there are so many, like the whole industry has taken this horrible dump, right? And people are like, oh no, ew, it's a coach. It's become like a 4-letter mm-hmm. word. I would not be who I am today without the phenomenal coaches I've worked with. And I know most of the people I know, especially most people running lady businesses, can say the exact same mm-hmm. thing. And we have gotten lucky, but it's not like hitting the lottery lucky. There are a lot of good people out there. It's just they tend to be more humble and more quiet and less flashy mm-hmm. than the people who are just trying to make money off of you and forget your name. Mm-hmm. So that sucks. And so one thing that I'm dedicated to right now is like, how do I make the good coaches, the good consultants, the good healers, how do I help them amplify their voice so that they can stand out louder against the people that are like, hey, do you want to work 15 minutes a day and make $1 million? Like, no, I don't. I want to work hard and provide value. And yes, I want to be compensated for that value, but I want to treat my clients like people, not like wallets.
Mm-hmm. So your idea dueling, it's 2019?
2019. Mm-hmm.
And what happens? How does non-sleazy sales get into the mix?
I just thought there's got to be a problem here. Like, what is the problem? And so I went to self-diagnose the problem in my own business. And I thought, oh, wow, I am literally getting onto what should be a sales call and then giving and giving. And at the end of it being like, thanks, Mary. I hope you had fun. Done. And I was like, okay, that's a problem. So I went to
like you weren't going for the ask.
I wasn't going for the ask at all.
Okay,
at all. I was expecting that if I bent over backwards and just over delivered constantly, that people would feel behooved to pay me in and of themselves. No. They felt very grateful. They felt very loving. They felt compelled to refer me to people. I wouldn't charge those people either. So, it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. But all the while I was becoming resentful of those people because what did my best friend Marissa say from recovery? It's such a good phrase. Expectations are premeditated resentments. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that insane?
Wait, say that again.
Expectations are premeditated resentments.
Wow.
And that's what was happening with me and my clients. And when a Muppet gets resentful, it's not cute. Like
a Muppet?
That's me.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But like when a Muppet gets resentful, it's not a cute look. It's not.
So wait,
it's draining me completely.
Why do you refer to yourself as a Muppet?
I don't really know how else to explain how so much energy is compacted into something so small. Sometimes people are like, no, you're more of a Fraggle, and they can go down that route, but I just throw the Muppet term at it.
I mean, Fraggles are Muppets.
Fraggles are Muppets. Thank you, Mary.
Not all Muppets are Fraggles, but all Fraggles are Muppets.
Thank you. Yes. But so, I would sit there and I would go, I can't believe, just to use you as an example, even though this has never been the case, I'd be like, I can't believe that I spent all week working so hard on Mary's launch and gave her so much stuff, and then she didn't even click my buy button. She didn't click my buy button because I didn't ask her to.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I have been begging to give you money.
Oh, I know, and that's true. That's totally true. But we got to figure that out. But so the thing was, I was like, okay, I have to love sales. At that point, I still didn't know that I would teach it because sales,
sales, I mean, it has a bad rap.
Right.
Everybody assumes that if they're being sold to, they're being taken advantage of. Someone's
Correct.
finding a weakness. Someone's an expert in body language. They know that when I touched my right cheek, that meant I was ready
gotcha.
to,
you sneeze. That means you can pay a higher price point. Like what?
Well, and also it's just like, we have to, I mean, the world is set up for us to buy things. Unfortunately,
Of course it is.
you're being sold to all the time. It's
Constantly. But
you also need things, so.
Exactly. And so I was like, I need to figure out this. And so what I did was I read 138 sales books in a year.
Okay.
And I was like, let's look for stuff I like and look for stuff I don't like. And there was more stuff I liked than I didn't like. And I thought this can all be tailorable. This can all really be specified for purpose-led, heart-centered business folk to do really beautifully where you just aren't talking about it. And then I went, oh, well, then maybe I should talk about it. And that's how the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy was born.
So when was that born?
2019.
Okay. So in the before times.
In the before times. In the right before times.
So how did you structure the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy?
Group calls. So I always love a group call. It's basically like holding court. I thought this is what it's got to be based on. So I wrote a program called Sales for Empaths, all about how to use empathy and connectivity to really get your point across and then have a safe and comfortable way to ask and to receive. And I ran that for a while as just a set program, but I realized that the clients, the students really wanted to have more polishing time or more mindset work around specific things. And so I thought, well, let's see what happens if I open up group calls. And then there everybody was. And so now I teach 6 hours a week still with, brushing up their emails when somebody is ghosting them or.
So everybody who's in the program is on these calls?
The calls are voluntary, but a lot of people are.
So let's rewind. So who are the kind of people? So when you're doing you're back and you're doing sales for empaths, who was taking these? Who are your clients?
Coaches, healers, and service providers. So lots of hairstylists, property, intellectual property lawyers, songwriters who write songs for other people, wedding vendors, tons of, fashion designers, but largely, Reiki practitioners, feng shui
and how are they
practitioners.
finding you?
I'm everywhere, baby. Honestly, at that point, it was kind of spray and pray. I was still figuring it out. I didn't have a podcast yet, but I was like, let's be all over social and let's provide value, right? So the core of my work in the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy is always solve a problem. Just solve one problem, and then solve the next problem. So what I did was I just got out there and started solving problems. So I started running a workshop called Make Selling Easy Without Getting Sleazy. And then I would teach that. And then after I would just have a really candid Q&A with folks who would come and be like, well, how would you have navigated this? And I tell them and they'd go make money and then they hire me because I asked them to, right? So there's the difference right there. And then I put legs under my referral and my word of mouth campaigns because they've always been my number one driver, but they had no structure. So I built in, this is how somebody can refer someone to me, and this is what happens when they do refer someone to me, and this is how I monitor that and track that and reward that. And so I put systems underneath it, and that's how they found me.
So let's give my dozens of listeners an example of like a problem that you would solve from an oh my God. Empathetic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. What's a way that you could solve a problem? Like, let's say I'm having a problem. Okay, how about ghosting? Let's say we're having a lot of people who are ghosting, whose clients, we're sending leads out to clients. They're coming back and saying we want to move ahead, and then we start the process and then they disappear.
Yep.
How do you solve that problem?
So at first, I want you to show up in full enthusiasm, like there's nothing wrong. Because one of the main things that people do when they feel like they're being ghosted is they completely forget that the other person has a life, and they assume that this is a 3-alarm fire. So a lot of the time in ghosting situations, I'll see an email immediately that's like, I guess you're no longer interested. Thanks so much for your time, right? Bail. Or I see like, hey, I think that you might be getting a little buyer's remorse or confusion in advance. And so I wanted to send you like 975 testimonials and basically say like, hey, how about a discount? What if I discounted? What if I took my price and like slashed it? Like, whoa, y'all. So the first thing is show up in expectant enthusiasm. So we don't know that there's a problem yet. Let's not invent one or make them think that there is one. And let's certainly not act desperate or bitchy in these emails, right? So first things first, follow up, solve an additional problem. So if they're like, okay, for example, if a DJ is getting ghosted, then one thing that the DJ can do to get them excited is say, hey, I have some questions for you about your upcoming event. Did you want a mix of modern and classic or mostly modern? Have you heard this new song? I know it's new and you said you wanted more classics, but it really reminds me of what you said about X and Y. Here's a song, thinking of you, can't wait to reconnect and talk about your event. Then, a couple days later, if you haven't heard, then take a different tactic, but still in the same tone. We still don't know there's a problem yet. Their dog could have frickin' died, right? We don't know. And so again, we say, hey, haven't heard back from you. Still not starting to get concerned. Nothing like that. Haven't heard back from you. I understand you're totally busy. In order for me to secure the date, then you make a small, logical business demand. In order for me to confirm the date, I do need to hear back from you by such and such, but that's it. Just a simple yes will do. Then we can get the deposit on this date, right? Draw out the next steps. Still no panic. Third email, about a week later. Now we can point out the fact that you haven't heard from them at all, but still in a compassionate way. There's still not necessarily a problem here. So what I encourage people to do then is send an email with a different but still loving tone and go, hey, I've sent you a couple of emails. I've sent you some homework. I've sent you some referrals. At this point, by not hearing from you, I am going to deduce that you have some kind of a blockage here, a time problem here, or you're just not sold on us yet. So what I need you to do is just tell me which one of those things is true. And I'll address them. And if we need to hop back on the phone, we will. But if I don't hear from you by X date at X time, I'm going to release the date that we talked about. Hope all is well. Love, Mary. Done. No panic, no buzz, no nothing. That gives them the opportunity the client, the opportunity to feel seen, safe, supported, and not rushed, but to understand what is required or necessary of them. Right? To take that gesture. But also sometimes if I'm in a really, really good mood, but I'm just super busy or, I'm planning a wedding, not like there's not 900,000 elements that go into that. If I get an email from somebody that's bitchy or guilt trippy, for lack of a better term, I could have been totally sold before. And now I'm like, well, damn.
Yeah. I hate when I get in someone's funnel and it just becomes like this Willy Loman-esque.
Oh God.
Like, golly gee, although I will say one time somebody sent me a gif of a white flag going up. Yeah. And they were like, this is us surrendering. And I wound up buying it on that one because it was like, it was a funny, cute.
It was funny. It's light. It's what you expect of the company.
But it took like 7 emails for them to get it to me. And that's the thing is that that's the thing, the bummery thing is that it takes like 7 hits or whatever for someone to decide they want to move ahead.
Yeah. That's why I love the 3 email in that it gives them 3 different tones and 3 different tactics. And beyond that, everything is pretty much noise, right? I love that. I mean, anything, sending a GIF in a business email, it's 2022. If y'all feel compelled, just do it. I could run my entire business in gifts and I would love it completely. But that white flag, it's funny. It took the pressure out of the situation. And that's what a lot of non-sleazy selling is making the client more comfortable, not in a manipulative way, but in a genuine way.
It also feels like so much right now is so automated.
Oh God, yes.
So if it feels like if I'm definitely just in sequence number 6 of the thing, I'm less inclined to buy it.
Well, that's still you being treated like a wallet. And I'm not dogging automation. Automation is, it's important, but not on your sales process should not be automated until the sale is closed, right? Maybe you have some auto emails that go out to pepper testimonials or this or that, maybe. But if they're not sold yet, they need more you, not more automation.
Mm-hmm. So when you started this, how did your life change when you started the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy?
People saw themselves so clearly in that brand where the previous brand had been cute and people liked it. They're like, oh, that's so clever. But I always had to explain it. The thing that I felt about the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy when I announced it was an immediate stickiness that I didn't expect, where people were like, oh my God. I started getting introduced before where they're like, Annie P. Ruggles is the idea doula. Annie this, Annie that is the this, and she does this, and she does that. It was a totally different tone when people started being like, Annie P. Ruggles, get this, is the founder of, oh my God, the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. That tone alone felt so good because it was like, okay, less education. I don't have to explain to people why this is important. I just have to lean into the reality that this is how they feel around selling. And so I think it had much more of a community that was able to kind of spring up around it because people were like, that's what I want. That's what I need. And that's before they even meet me. And it's also so much more in keeping with my genuine personality that when they would get a hold of me or when they would see me, there would be no confusion with the Muppetness. They'd be like, oh, of course this sequin-wearing, loud, skipping 40-year-old cray-cray is running this thing. That makes sense.
Is that you?
Yes. I'm 37.
I'm like, I don't think you're 40.
I'm not.
I actually was, in all of the Grammy-ness of this past weekend, I'm the only person I think that watched the Grammys. They were interviewing Billy Porter on the red carpet because, I record the red carpet and watch it on delay so I can fast forward through the commercials. And then by the time I'm done watching the red carpet, I'm 30 minutes into the Grammys so I can watch that and fast forward through the commercial. This is like...
That is really established in terms of like how you lay that down. That is some good stuff.
Yeah, no, this is the Oscars, the Grammys, and the Golden Globes are like my Super Bowl, and my Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't know any other sport related positive things that happen.
I just have Angela Lansbury's birthday. That's it. That's my only holiday.
Although I think there was a sport thing that happened yesterday. It was basketball related.
It was?
Basketball, yes.
I'm 4'11". I have no idea what basketball even is.
I'm 420 all the time. Anyway, but
same.
You're 4'11"?
Mm-hmm.
I tower over you at a 5'2".
Wow. Such a giant.
I know. I'll give you my 3 inches.
Thank you.
I don't know what that means. Anyway, wait, what was I talking about?
Basketball.
Oh, no, Billy Porter. So Billy Porter on the red carpet was talking about how actually he was being interviewed by who was one of the worst interviewers in the history of all time, but I love her anyway, Laverne Cox. Like she was doing the red carpet for E and it was a disaster.
Oh, honey.
But I was there for it because I love her.
But she was so good at inventing Anna.
And she was so good at inventing Anna.
Come on.
She's so good at everything.
Anyway,
Right,
but not interviewing.
I
apparently.
think what I think is great is that they're giving her a chance because she was really bad at the Oscars. She was slightly better at the Grammys. She just gets a little too starstruck and it's like, hold it together, woman. But anyway, Billy Porter obviously knows who she is and what she's all about. So like he's talking about how in the 80s when he was like trying to like pre Kinky Boots era, he was like how he was like, I play like gang members. He wasn't playing him, who Billy Porter is. And then once he like came out and was, Billy Porter. Yeah. The work started pouring all over him because he was being his authentic self. And I have to say that kind of like really resonated with me. Just the idea of like, like trying to be the idea doula and like doulas are gentle.
Yeah.
Doulas are like,
I'm not passive.
and even just and the idea of using the word doula, it's a woman word.
Yep.
We birth ideas.
Yes.
But not all births are gentle.
No.
They're the horrifying ones your mom has to make it into medical journals.
Exactly. And I was willing to do that, but there was something very safe in that brand. And I didn't even realize the safety, but you're totally right in terms of the authenticity piece of like, yes, I definitely, when I took the time to rebrand into the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, I had actually also, let's keep it real here on Lady Business. Something that happened that I didn't bring up before was that right around that time, I was really badly hurt by a friend and peer of mine that I never expected to hurt me. And I went into hibernation.
Can you be any more specific
Absolutely.
about this?
Let me tell you her name and social security number. No,
can I get her address? Like it's the Omaha World Herald newspaper in 1998.
Ridiculous. No, so let's see. I hosted an event with a couple of other people here in Chicago. And this girl that I had invited that was, I think they're on a scholarship, maybe. I don't know. She threw a fit in the middle and I tried to lighten the load and I made a joke, and maybe the joke wasn't the most sensitive joke, but not an insensitive joke by any means. And she just went off on me in the middle of the event.
The person who was there on scholarship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she's like, you don't realize that not the whole world revolves around you. You don't realize that you're such a joke and da 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 da. And you are so bitchy and rude. And I'm like, bitchy and rude. Again, Muppet. Those are words that may be bitchy, but rude has never been used. Crude, maybe. Mm-hmm. Rude, no. Mm-hmm. But I was so exhausted because I've been running this event for 3 days and I just burst into tears in front of everybody, which was the last thing I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And there was no place to hide. We were at a conference room rental downtown. Mm-hmm. Where am I going to go cry? In the bathroom? So I just stood there and cried. And
how many people were in the room?
Probably 25.
Oh my God.
And then the forms came in and the feedback forms, and the feedback forms was Annie was so unprofessional. I can't believe she cried. Annie is so obnoxious, all of these things. And I just died. I just died inside. I was these people don't understand me at all. I got betrayed.
This is a sales training event?
It was a kind of a mastermind type event. And
so this person embarrassed you and
royally.
And they were a friend of yours?
Yeah, for years. And they had actually seen me through some previous kind of business trauma with a male mentor who I thought really believed in me, but wanted to get into my pants. Mm-hmm. And she had been a really good friend to me through that. So she also had a deeper level of intimate knowledge of me than 99% of the population. So I really didn't expect it from her and not on my own turf. And that hurt. But this was right around the time when I was thinking maybe I should be doing sales. And so I really took time to be quiet and be small and be introspective. And I think I was healing at that time, but I didn't realize it. I was just trying to take some space. But then when I came out, I had two choices. I could do what Megan, that's right, I said your name, Megan. I could do what Megan would have wanted me to do, which is stay small, stay hidden, stay quiet. Or I could be you know what? Maybe I am obnoxious. What does that look like?
I'm obnoxious.
Right now, I told you, I'm dressed like Michael Jackson and Remember the Time.
I'm dressed like a Japanese teenager, so
Exactly. And so I was well, what would it look like if I know my heart and I know I'm not rude and I know that I have the biggest capacity for love on this freaking earth when it comes to these businesses? What if I let that out? What if I just owned it? And that's exactly what happened. So that was my Billy Porter, coming out with the hat with the doors that open and close on it. That was me coming out and being okay, we are going to get through this together. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be pushy, but I'm going to be totally gracious and loving. And we're just going to see what happens. And they loved the brand. And then I allowed them to love me because I didn't hold back.
Who's the them in this statement?
The earth.
Got it. Okay.
The cosmos. No, but the people that I call them my ask avoidant do-gooders, right? So my people that needed to find me could find me. And that was really important. And I owe Megan for that because I think part of what had to happen was I had to kind of be shaken out of safety.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's amazing is that happened to you. And I think a lot of people would have been like, all right, fuck this.
Yep.
I'm not putting myself out there anymore because this is like the worst way to get outed or have the insecurities that, you calling yourself a Muppet, like, and I say I represent the Lollipop Guild. That's how
yeah.
It's like,
we do.
We're like small, spunky people that have been told our whole lives, you're too loud, you're too quiet, you need to, just now when you said that she makes everything about herself, the number of people who have said that to me about me, and it's like, I don't feel like I do that. I'm the only, I know myself pretty well. So like,
especially when there are so many DJs that do make everything about them.
Yeah.
And I know how much you hate that,
mm-hmm.
right? You are not the look at me DJ. You are the ambiance creating, dance floor bumping, let's make sure our clients sparkle and have the best night of their lives DJ. That is not the Mary Show. That is not the Mary Show. And if I am going to hold court on a group call and make everyone feel energized and jazzed up and corrected in terms of their course and supported
mm-hmm.
in the steps that they have to take, that's not the Annie Show. That's just me gathering
that's
people
also
around
the
me.
job you're trying to do. And I think that, honestly, Annie, I feel like I'm a broken record on this stuff, but I feel like that's just gendered bullshit where it's like, if a man was doing exactly what you were doing, he'd be this leader. He'd be this, this Pied Piper taking people into the promised land of sales. Whereas you have, but we have to make ourselves smaller, make ourselves more palatable, make ourselves easier for people to understand from a bite-sized chunk kind of way instead of being able to talk broadly about things.
Yeah. 100 gajillion%. And for all those reasons, I had that male mentor who really screwed me in more ways than one. Please don't let my dad listen to this episode.
Dad?
But
fake dad?
Shh, daddy, don't listen. But, that was really hard and that really sucked. But in my mind, I'm like, well, he's this high-powered man with a following and he kind of grew me. Like that was very NXIVM in that, I watch documentaries now about stuff like NXIVM and I'm like, yep. Saw that totally because he had the cachet and he had the
mm-hmm.
followers and he looked at me and all these things. But I never expected that the main pain in my life that again, I am grateful for now, but I never expected that the main pain in my business life, which bled into my Mrs. life, which bled into my life, would have been caused by another woman. Never. I never would have thought that the cattiness and this high school bullshit and mm-hmm. this let me tear you down because I'm feeling depleted. I did not expect that to follow me into entrepreneurship. And I think that was naive of me.
So when you say that the catalyst for Non-Sleazy Sales Academy, mm-hmm. so you got disparaged at the retreat and mm-hmm. then
I had already quit my job working for the coach that had the horrible practices. Mm-hmm. So I was already chewing on the idea of how can great people sell beautifully.
And are you in your time your husband was supporting you financially through this time? Okay.
Yeah. And that was that same kind of that pain chrysalis. I will withdraw from the world. I will Emily Dickinson and I just maybe eventually make some content.
With some weird capitalized letters in odd places.
Yes. Yes. And all three
mm-hmm.
of my pets and weird frilly dresses.
And it is, maybe we should just make some space here. It's great you had the opportunity to have somebody who could support you through this.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
To, give you the space to do this.
I see people all the time with partners that are anti-supportive.
Mm-hmm. They think of your business as a fun hobby thing.
And my own cousin, God, I'm just spilling all the tea on this one. My own cousin, his wife is a burgeoning coach. She's working really hard. She created something she was really proud of. She made these amazing journals. And my own flesh and blood told her, could you get your shit out of our garage? I'm tired of looking at them. And that got around our family and hurt me on so many different levels. But as a business strategist, I'm like, my own cousin is the worst example mm-hmm. of a non-supportive partner.
Were you able to reach out to his wife and be like, Bish?
I did. I was like, my cousin's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And I also said hey, it's not I don't want to do what was happening in the program that I used to work before. Don't tell your husband that we're going to do this.
Sure.
But I was understanding full well, right? But I was understanding full well that my cousin does not support you. I don't want you to not tell him that we talk. But if you want help that you should be getting from my cousin, I am here. And I will also, at our next family function, if you want me to, tell my cousin to go directly to hell, not pass go, and not collect $200.
How'd that go?
They're divorcing. So.
But are you going to get her in the divorce?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't want him.
Sure.
I don't want him at all. But, oh my God, I'm spilling so much tea.
I know.
But, to your point, every day that I wake up with a supportive partner is a day that I don't have to take it all on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lady business that is all me and a handful of VA hours, that is invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all, supportive partners are out there. Jerky partners, maybe they don't understand, but if they've been given an opportunity to understand and they're still being jerks, get out of there. They will never support what they don't understand.
Unless they're willing to go to therapy and actually do the work.
Yeah, but that's doing the work.
But they usually don't want to.
Right. Oh. Blah, blah, blah.
Anyway, okay, so we already been at Too Legitimate to Quit. Like we've been doing this for like how long?
7 years. An
No
hour?
way. No, 45 minutes. All right,
Okay.
let's get to, okay, so how many students do you have in the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy?
I think about 30.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so you've got and so what's the goal for them? Like when they join the academy, what are they trying to do? Do they come in, learn some stuff and leave? Is it like
It's dealer's choice. So I don't kick them out, but I want them to graduate from me in that I really want to make sure that as quickly and powerfully as possible, I fill them up with everything they need. And if they want to go, they go. But a lot of people are constantly launching or constantly pivoting, so they have a tendency to stay. But the ultimate goal is close more sales. It's really that simple. Most of my clients will double their previous year's income just by mastering asking. And we reward and celebrate that. And then also it's just, I think sometimes in between sales challenges, it's just nice to have a cheers equivalent where you can go and just say, hey, good and bad, I made a sale today, and have people that get it and not your douchey cousin be like, oh, that's awesome, and genuinely mean it. And then at the same point to be able to say entrepreneurship is really hard. I had a bad week. I had a bad month. I had a bad year. I had a bad day. I got a hater on YouTube. I think there's something to be said for just having a safe space to show up in your business and be fed within your business. And so that's kind of the unexpected byproduct of the academy.
So when did Too Legitimate to Quit come on the scene?
December 7th, 2020.
That was a pandemic baby?
Pandemic baby. Yeah, everybody else got sourdough. I got a podcast. But even more, I was at that point by 2020 and by then, like later 2020, I sound like 2020, Barbara Walters. But I was longing for connection at that point. And everyone was constantly telling me like, write a book. And I was like, I got too many books and they're all conflicting in my head and I don't know what I even want to say. And so I just thought, well, what if I could just talk it out? I'm a speaker's kid. What if I could just talk it out? And so originally for about one day, Too Legitimate to Quit was a me only solo show where I would talk about the pop culture things that I loved and find business stuff in them. And I realized though, like at the end of that one day, that I have really broad tastes, but my really broad taste does not span everybody's taste. And that I was siloing people that like, you have to be born in the 70s or 80s. You have to be a Muppet.
It's like, how much can I parallel entrepreneurship with Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Exactly.
Like, how much can I mine this one?
How much can I mine this? Like, how many episodes can I talk about the collective work of Angela Lansbury before people are like, well, have you ever thought about doing Rambo? I'm like, no. But now I can say that I have. And so what my podcast became for me as my COVID baby.
And did you start the process of planning it entirely in like post March 2020, or were you thinking about this before?
No, I was thinking about it. It happened really fast. I came up with the concept, I want to say in November and launched in December.
Wow.
And yeah, cause at that point I was just done, but I wanted what it still is for me, which is just a chance to hang out with really gorgeous brains and rev them up in their zone of genius and then have fun. Most people that come on my show say it's the most fun interview they've done. That's exactly what I want because I believe inspiration is everywhere. And I think we'll have more ready access to that if we have fun.
And it is really fun to listen to.
Thank you.
I can't wait to be on it myself.
Well, you filled out the form, so TikTok anytime now.
So what are your favorite pop? So you've got this pop culture spin on it.
Yeah.
What are your like 3 most beloved pop culture-y things that you love?
Oh God.
Like when you started this, what was the pop culture spin that you were?
The pop culture spin that inspired it all was actually Golden Girls. In that I wanted to tell a story about Sophia Petrillo and her Picture This Sicily 1946s. And
what?
Like, well, she's like, picture this, Sicily, 1918, right? Like whatever it is. Like I wanted to talk about the importance of painting a picture. And the importance of storytelling and branding. And then I thought, well, maybe I could do this bigger. Maybe I could do like, okay, sales lessons from Rose and customer service lessons from Dorothy. And I was like kind of going down this
God,
rabbit
that's
hole.
actually I listened to that podcast.
Yeah. Well, it's coming at some point. There will be a solo episode at some point, but I wouldn't say
but just the idea of using the Golden Girls as like a map for life.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And so I wanted to do that, but it was all going to be anchored on Sophia. But I mean, gosh, what are my top 3? My top 3 are probably George Gershwin, Angela Lansbury, and
anything more recent?
Kurt Cobain. Like those 3 things.
Wow.
I don't think I'm going to do a Nirvana episode of TLTQ anytime soon. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
So, I think it's kind of great that there's not one of those things that like, is Angela Lansbury still alive?
Yes. She's 96.
Wow. When's her birthday?
Just, October 16th.
What's her favorite color?
I don't know. Shit.
So you don't really love
We're
her.
pen pals. We're pen pals. I have her book. I have all of her books. I have her VHS.
Did you say you're a pen pal? Like you've written letters to her and she's replied?
Yeah.
What is
my obsession goes deep, yo.
Oh, that's very impressive.
I mean, she's 96. I was going to get my letter in before she dies.
Sure. And there's nothing more recent than Nirvana?
In terms of music, my musical taste really did end in like 1997.
No, just like pop culture. Like, do you watch anything new?
Oh God, I love everything new. I mean, I love BTS.
Wow. Did you see them and you didn't watch the Grammys?
No.
There were some pretty good bits.
I just love them. No, I mean, modern new things. I'm obsessed with Anna Delvey right now.
I mean, we all are.
Right. I mean, I think that she is absolutely fabulous. On TLTQ, I just got to play the game Anna Delvey, Branding or Fraud. We all decided branding. Cause she's amazing.
Yeah, I would say she's more branding than fraud.
Yep.
I think that she was a girl she was, born in back. I mean, we don't know, right? We don't know anything yet.
Not a whole lot.
I mean, the dad stuff
it's nebulous.
I don't think it's real. I think that's the part that they totally made up.
Yeah, I don't think she came from much of anything.
But I like the idea of her just being from like Russian backwater.
Yes.
And then learning enough. She's like moving to Germany. This is my story for Anna Delvey is that she like born in Stettel. I don't know. She's born like
Stettel. There we go.
And then she moves to Germany, learns English with a weird fucked up German accent.
Yep.
And then somehow cobbles together enough money and she just decides she's going to reinvent herself in America.
Yeah.
And she just was too good at it. Like she was too good at it.
Yeah, she was too good at it and it smacked her down.
And I think that if she was a man, that whole thing would have gone differently. Although I guess we know the man because that's a Tinder swindler.
I was going to say that's Tinder swindler, but also like, what is the difference between what Anna was trying to build and what Anna was trying to do and what Mark Zuckerberg is doing with Meta? He doesn't have that technology yet. We can't go to a concert as a hologram yet. Not that I ever freaking want to, but he was creating a vision of the future and people bought into it.
See, I tried to make this point a while ago and people kind of shot me down for it. Maybe you'll be willing to indulge me in a little bit more. But I kind of feel like Anna Delvey and Elizabeth Holmes are cut from the same cloth.
But Elizabeth Holmes is fraud.
I don't think she started out that way.
I don't think she started out that way either.
I think that Elizabeth Holmes and Anna Delvey are like they both just began to eat, like smell their own, like their bullshit began to smell like flowers, and like they got in too deep and they didn't know how to get out of it.
Yes.
And they didn't know how to ask questions, and they were too afraid to come clean.
Mm-hmm.
And if they, and I don't know what made them fly so close to the sun. Like, do they not have any real? I think
Elizabeth Holmes has some psychopathy in her, but of a nonviolent way.
I think I know what it is.
What?
They don't have friends. They didn't have any real friends.
No, exactly. Which is why it's so sad, right? But then Elizabeth Holmes, she also brought on Sonny. Is that dude's name? And he started faking all those tests, and she allowed it. That's where she went wrong, right?
You know, he was her moon, her sun, her fire tiger.
He was her all things.
And you know what he said? Okay.
Oh my God.
He just said okay.
But like that's where they diverge, right? Is like when you start faking medical tests, now we have a fraud issue. But the vision, what the world should be, what the world could be, how we could empower others in this new medical frontier, or, which is much, Elizabeth Holmes's, aim was much more benevolent than Anna's. Anna wanted a playground for the extremely uber rich.
But even that's okay.
Yeah, totally fine.
Fucking, if they're going to be, if the world's going to make billionaires, fucking
if we can have a Soho House, we can have an ADF. Like, it's fine. But I totally agree with you that it was like when the intent to create something beautiful got clouded by the lies, then we become an issue, right? But no, I totally think that this is a lady business issue because we've seen men do this. We've seen, men get out there and they go on Shark Tank and they get gajillions of dollars for a concept that doesn't even work. And the investors go, oh, well, he's busy. It takes time. Yeah. ADF took time. She just didn't get there all the way. And that I think as a cautionary tale for women business owners is know where the sun is, know how close to it you can fly, but also know what your deliverables are and launch the thing as quick as you can. ADF needed to take forever because it needed like huge funding and locations and rents and blah, blah. She still could have put out a shingle and sold some sweatshirts.
Yeah. A lot of it was also exists inside of her mind. I mean, I don't know how much of the story is real and how much I kind of don't know about it, but it's like, there was not enough physical, like it was a lot of it existed in her head.
You got to go to market faster than that.
Okay, so we've got Too Legitimate to Quit, your podcast. We just did a really big pop culture spin ourselves.
Yes, we did.
And I guess my question to you is when you are bringing people on the show, who do you want? How do you choose the people that go on your show? I'm asking as much for myself.
I don't care about list size. Don't care. Don't care about established markers of success. Don't care. I want people who know what their zone of genius is so that they can speak to it and through it without trying to preamble into it. And I want people that can have a damn good time talking about what they love.
I think it's really cute that that's what you said. And you've had like Mike Michalowicz on your show.
Yeah. He's a gem.
Like if he was a woman.
If Mike Michalowicz was a woman, he would be even more attractive than he is as a man. But no, Mike Michalowicz has a lot of feminine energy, which I think is really fun, but he's a doll.
I love that guy.
And he's just an absolute doll. And
is he your biggest get?
So far, I think. I got Pam Slim from Escape from Cubicle Nation, who I also super love, but I actually got to ask her in person to be on the show. Michalowicz was kind of a prayer and a song. And when he came back and said, yeah, I was like, yeah. And then I got so Laverne Cox on the red carpet fangirly at him. He actually stopped me and was like, hey, not in a rude way at all, but he was like, you need to remember that you're doing me a service because Get Different had just come out. And so he was like, you're exposing me to a whole new audience that doesn't know me. So it's cool that you're thanking me, but stop because I should be thanking you.
So I should probably rewind a little bit because I'm sure that not everybody knows who he is. But he wrote a couple of really amazing books. One called Clockwork, which is a book I really used a lot with my business, which is it's all about setting and forgetting it with your business.
The good kind of automation.
And then, but the real feather in his cap. Profit first.
Y'all. If you think you hate math, if you think you're afraid of your own money, if your money is a mess, do not be afraid. go and buy a copy of Profit First, or he just came out with a video book of Profit First, which is like an audio book with video. What? But
Wow.
It is the most critical, crucial, but accessible way to prioritize your own gains in your business and turn your hustle, what does he call it? Your cash eating monster into a legitimate business.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not read Profit First, I recommend it with my whole heart, which I never expected to say about a book about math.
Maybe you also would do it with your whole ass.
Oh my God, my whole ass!
If you also don't want to read it, and if you don't really want to have to deal, my bookkeeper, Angie Knoll, has a company called Reconciled Solutions, and they do all their bookkeeping on Profit First. So my entire life has been Profit Firsted. Anyway, Mike McCallowitz, who wrote that book, was on Annie's podcast, and it blew my mind.
He's just a gem. We talked about Revenge of the Nerds. It was great.
I was trying to come up with a Revenge of the Nerds quote, and they like all blinked on me. And there's certain lines from Revenge of the Nerds that like are in my everyday parlance, and I can't think of anything.
I hadn't seen it, and he was like devastated.
Wow, that's mine. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you start the podcast. You've got Mike McCallowitz. You've got all kinds of crazy. I mean, you do have some amazingly diverse people on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also want to talk real quickly about how we're cousins.
Yes. That's critically important. Well, we haven't talked about Mel. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
So talk about how the amazing nature of family of small business works if you lean into it. When you show up as your authentic self, it is very easy for other people that show up as their authentic self to also know who else's authentic self would get along well with you. And so we were introduced by Mel McSherry,
who is an amazing business coach. I was actually on the phone with her today. She was helping me. I paid for an extra hour this month because
God, I love her.
And she was helping me I don't know how to explain what Mel does, but she's amazing at it.
Mel combines really solid business practices with all of this really cool, intuitive flair. It's awesome. Mel was on the show on TLTQ, and we talked about Harry Potter, and we talked about how J.K. Rowling is a turf trash bag.
She's a turf trash bag.
But that was also really quite soothing because I got to stand on my own pulpit and be like, hey, I am a secret Slytherin, fake Ravenclaw, standing here on this pulpit saying J.K. Rowling is a trash bag.
You're a Slytherin?
I didn't expect it. Mel actually outs me as a Slytherin on the show. Right. Anyway, but so Mel introduced us.
Are you a Death Eater?
Hells no.
Okay. Just making
Muppet.
sure.
Muppet. Slytherin Muppet. I'm basically Crab and Goyle. I just don't know what's going on.
Oh no. That's like the worst thing. Anyway.
But anyway, so Mel introduced us because she knew that you wanted this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Annie helped me get my cojones together, my lady balls.
Your lady balls, all in a bunch.
To get my podcast started. Now you're on my podcast.
And now it's all full circle, but we are cousins because what we realized is
so my last name is Nisi. And when I emailed Annie, and I was like, when Mel sent me the email with her email in it, I was like, Annie's maiden name is Passanisi.
Right.
And I was like, oh, my name's inside your name.
And I was like, what? And I looked, because no one could ever pronounce Passanisi. And so I was like, if your name is pronounced Nisi and not Nissi, we family. Mm-hmm. And that was before I noticed that we look alike. Mm-hmm. We are the same volume. Mm-hmm. We have the same sass. Mm-hmm. We both have juicy booties that we live our lives from. Mm-hmm. And so, so then I was just like, okay, we're cousins, but now we're sisters.
Yeah.
So sorry to Mary's actual sisters. You've been replaced.
Or, I mean, I would say you could come in, but we have our own family.
I'm competitive here in the lady business world.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So Annie, what can we promote for you?
Hey, give a listen to TLTQ. I can't wait to your episode. It's going to be a blast and a half. And the show, we get new episodes every single Monday. One of the things that's really important to me, because I grew up watching a lot of Jerry Springer, is that I have a little moment at the end of every show. I have a final thought to wrap things up, give you some motivation, inspiration, but also some actionable homework so you could actually do and not just think and feel. And so every Monday, if you're not sure what to do in your business and you want to know that inspiration is everywhere, tune into Too Legit.
I will say the homework at the end, it does get my mind grapes juicing.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there any way you want to, who would be a great candidate for the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy?
If you can laundry list all the times that you were sold too terribly, but struggle to think about the times when you were sold too beautifully, you might have sales avoidance in your own business. If you find yourself over delivering and becoming resentful and you don't know how to ask or ask better, if you struggle to put a price on what you consider to be a God-given gift, if any of those things sing at your heart and you know that you need a little help, hit me up.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, Annie. Well, this is wonderful. I have a feeling this isn't the last time you're on my podcast.
Well, it won't be.
And I can't wait to be on yours.
Thanks.
You have a great day. I always feel very awkward at the end of these.
We'll just end it. Ready?
We'll just 1, 2, 3,
end.
It's over. Thanks for listening to All Up in My Lady Business. It is written by me, Mary Nisi. It is produced by Christina Sorum Williams and Amelia Ruby with Softer Sounds. It is recorded at the Toast and Jam offices in Logan Square in Chicago. You can find resources and links from this episode in the show notes at allupinmyladybusiness.com. If you enjoyed this episode, and you did, smash that subscribe button. And if you're the kind of person that reviews things on the internet, please rate and review us wherever you listen to us. It really does help people find us. Follow us on all of your socials, and don't forget, whatever you do this week, do it with your whole ass. Thanks for listening.